those of you who don't know who these guys are, they are Celtic Frost. Mr. Tom G. Warrior and Martin, how are you today?
Perfectly fine, thank you.
That's good. So far, how's the tour been going with Sun O?
Actually very good. Very, very good.
You know, actually, the first half of the tour was with 1349
Right.
and Salk from Norway, and we'll be doing the rest of the tour with Goat Whore out
Yes.
of New Orleans as well.
I wanted to ask you guys about the artwork on the latest album, Monotheist, from Century Media Records. What is it exactly?
This is just a piece of a larger artwork. It's just an excerpt of a larger artwork. And of course, it's just a face.
Kind of damaged, though.
Yeah, you know, it's damaged kind of like record. It's damaged kind of like music, I would say, you know, because we're damaged kind of like band.
Okay, now you have Triptych, which is almost like a 3-song set. And I wanted to know why you did it like that on the album.
Triptych?
Yeah.
Art. It's a 3-part piece of art, and it has to be like that. It's not contrived. It's our emotion at that given time when we recorded this album, and it had to be in 3 parts. It's like one of those medieval paintings that were painted on a wooden furniture that you can open, hence the triptych.
And what exactly is a monotheist, for some fans that don't know?
Monotheist is a person that believes in one God. And of course, the 3 big monotheistic religions being Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. We're, you know, not really pointing out which one it is, although we're using a cross in the word.
Now, how would you guys compare some of the songs on the new CD from the stuff back in the 80s?
It's definitely a classic Celtic Frost album, and even though it's something very modern at the same time. It's not a copy of our old sound, but you can hear from the first note that it's Celtic Frost.
No,
Yeah.
it is much more misanthropic, I think, than anything we've done before, you know.
And what made you guys decide to go with Century Media?
We wanted to have a personal connection, somebody who could relate to our art, not just on a financial level. And at the end of the day, Century Media seemed to have much better distribution, and we selected them. And so far, it's been a very good relationship.
Good.
Yeah, what you also got to know in that regard is that we basically are our own record company. It's like Century Media is a licensing partner, you know.
Oh, okay. And so far, what kind of feedback have you received from the press and the fans?
It's been overwhelmingly positive, which is not something that is guaranteed, because Celtic Frost is not a band that's easy to digest, and our albums are not necessarily made to please critics or the audience. They're made to please us.
Yeah.
And so the response we've gotten is amazing, and we're very grateful for that.
What do you foresee with the reunion of Celtic Frost?
I don't think it's a reunion per se, you know. It's Tom and me, of course,
Yes.
that have been getting together again, but it's not like a sort of a classic lineup. I think this is more like re-envisioning or reinventing Celtic Frost, because we've been away for like over a decade, you know.
Why?
And we really had to rediscover what it was that made up our friendship and that made up this band. And so it's not sort of like a reunion thing, and this is also one of the reasons why I think that Celtic Frost will be able to go on and why we might have a future, you know.
Why did it take you guys so long to come back, and what were you doing in that whole time?
That's exactly like Martin said. We first had to rediscover our friendship. We wanted to have a true Celtic Frost album, and you can't just flick that on like a light switch.
Yeah, you know, we had like ludicrous offers, right, for coming back and playing shows, you know, some of those big festivals in Europe. All the people in the industry we were talking about were saying, like, go out, do a reunion tour, sell some merchandise, and then if you still like, you can put out another record or something. And we decided to do our own way, just, you know, like we did in the first time around.
What did you guys do this whole time? I mean, were you just writing more music? Were you having like real jobs, day jobs? I mean,
We did other musical projects. Martin did projects in the entertainment industry. I wrote the book. There's all kinds of stuff that we did in the meantime.
Everybody was, you know, pursuing their own life and having their own means, you know. And I was lucky enough to be kind of like successful as a businessman, you know, run a couple of bars and a nightclub in Switzerland.
He's a mogul.
And
a nightclub mogul?
Yes.
And
the envy of the rest of the band.
I don't think so. Actually, I think Franco Cesa was really happy working on construction, you know. He likes to be in the fresh
free
air.
drinks somewhere. You know?
Yeah, at least you got to drink somewhere for free.
Yeah, and you know, we will be allowed to film there without any problems or hassle, you know.
Like some places. Now,
Anyway.
on the album, I guess you wrote most of the songs, Tom.
No, actually, for the first time, all the music was written about 50-50 between Martin and I, and also the other members wrote. I'm no longer the one who makes most royalties.
That's good. No, that's good. You see, okay.
As if we would have made any back in the day, you know.
He's a fucking mogul.
You know, we
And
got
he
ripped off in the
steals half
first
of them.
place.
You steal half. Well, what do most of the songs mean? I'm looking at some of them, like Os Absimi Vilda.
Os abismi vel
Okay.
da'af. Da'af is Hebrew and stands for knowledge.
Well, what does this whole thing mean?
It means entering the abyss through knowledge, and or by purely intellectual means, and it's after the writing by after a text by Aleister Crowley.
Okay.
Aleister Crowley, of course, being the famous, notorious 20th century occultist and a magician, you know. And basically, you start, you know, learning and get knowledgeable about things until you start realizing that you don't know anything. So in the end, eventually, if you pursue this for too long, you'll end up insane because you realize there's nothing to realize, you know. And that this was really enticing to us. You know.
What about Synagoga Satanic? Oh,
Synagoga Satanae, and it's from the New Testament, the last
Okay.
book of the New Testament. Everybody who knows what I'm talking about right now must have read the Bible. That is the book of Revelations. And in the book of Revelations, there's this passage where John the Revelator is conferring to the enemies of Christ, and the congregation of the enemies of Christ is the Synagoga Satanae. So, of course, synagoga being the Jewish church, but back then he couldn't say church, the word ecclesia, because there was only one God and it was his church. So Satan couldn't have a church of his own. He couldn't have the ecclesia being the Latin word for church. So they just used the Jewish word for church because basically, you know, the first enemies of the Christians were the Jews because they started out as a Jewish sect, you know.
that's good. It's very interesting.
You want to know some more?
Yeah,
Thing
I
is,
do. I
it's
really
about,
do.
It's
I'm
about
interested.
me. It's about me or us, or better said, the way. Because I realized I was brought up a stern Catholic. My mother was a Catholic religious teacher, and I myself, not considering myself a Catholic, I realized that basically by leaving the flock, I have entered hell because to the Catholic congregation, I am still theirs. And since I don't want to be theirs, you know, I am one of their enemies. So I will end up, in their view, I will end up in hell. So I am part of the Synagoga Satanae, and I was trying to depict my kind of like Dante-esque, you know,
Yeah.
overblown view of hell, you know.
That's very good. Did you go to church all the time when you were a kid? Did you First Communion, confirmation, all of that?
All of that and then some, you know. I was a church boy, an altar boy, you know. I didn't get manhandled though. You know, so. I saw that question coming up. I saw that question coming up. She was already like,
That came later.
Much later in life.
I'm not afraid of going to hell because I don't think there is a hell, just like I don't think there is a heaven. Because, just simply put, have you ever imagined all those creeds out there? They got a heaven and they got a hell. And usually, everybody not being a part of the congregation is ending up in hell. So if you're a Baptist, you'll end up in Catholic hell. If you're a Catholic, you'll end up in Baptist hell. If you're a Muslim, you'll end up in all the Christian hells. And it continues like this. So everybody will end up in hell eventually, so I'm not afraid.
But it's okay.
When I die,
No.
I will simply rot chemically like every other thing, and there's no afterlife, no nothing, and I have no fear of that. It's perfect.
Good. Do we have any last word for the fans?
I hate last words, you know? I mean, 'cause
Okay,
like,
it's not your last words. Do you have any advice for the fans out there that want to be musicians?
Don't.
don't
Don't do it. Don't.
Why?
Because it's a crap industry.
Let's put it like this. If you want to become artists, you will suffer, you know, and you will have to suffer. And if you truly suffer, most probably your art will be worthwhile, you know. So my advice is go out and chart new territory because I think there is new territory to
Yeah,
be charted
become a
out.
lawyer or a plastic surgeon.
First,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
become a musician.
Become a plastic surgeon.